I'm gonna keep this nice and simple for the last video of the year, but to all those that doubted me back in the Chapter 234 review that we wouldn't be starting the new year with Girlfriend 36, I just want to take this victory lap in knowing that I was right. Well, half right. I was right in regards that there would be a break week that would push Girlfriend 36 into the first chapter of the new year, but my numbering was off, as I would say it would be Chapter 239 when it's actually 240. So, though my math was off, I was saved by the odd choice that they released a chapter on Christmas Eve, surprisingly enough. I completely forgot to account for Christmas in my calculations. So between bad math and forgetting about Christmas, I kind of failed upwards in my correct prediction that we are starting 2026 with Girlfriend 36. You know, I get a lot wrong on this channel, so even though I stumbled into being right, I'll take any win I can get. I'm Moonlight150, and this is my overview of the latest 100 Girlfriends manga chapter, Chapter 239. Totes? Naturally. Go wish Zoonskans a happy new year down in the comment section below for all the hard work they have been doing throughout this entire year. As well as 7Cs because they at least were able to get like 3 volumes out this year, I think. Or was it 4? But enough dawdling, let's go full gal power and go right into this chapter before the new year is over. It's another spring day on the school rooftop where Mimimi notices that Akko has changed up her drinking habits, where she has swapped out tea and juice for just regular milk. Huh, she must not be traumatized like everyone else from my generation from those Got Milk commercials.
Well, Mr. Miller told me he never drinks milk.
That's not good.
Bruh.
Got milk.
No, actually, it turns out the latest hot craze in the gal world is being a tall blonde mixed cocktail, much like Mimimi herself. And the milk drinking is her version of trying to bulk up to become taller and blonder before the upcoming gal contest. Yeah, the science isn't sciencing here, Akko. Though Mimimi puts a downer on Akko's excitement as she informs her that she didn't read the fine print, that the contest is for teams of 2 and not singular entries. But seeing this as an opportunity to show off her beauty, and the fact that she is basically a gin and tonic in heels, Mimimi decides to accompany Akko for the event. The day of the event rolls up where we learn the rules of the competition is determined by the audience members literally smashing that like button. Huh. You should follow their example and go do that below this video. And to acquire those likes, Mimimi and Akko declare it's montage time, and begin flaunting their gal aura in various scenarios that you would find on your typical social media influencer's Instagram. And thankfully all of those were good enough for them to get into the finals. But what's that intimidating aura that they have to take on in the finals? Why, it's none other than the trending gals sweeping all across social media right now, the gal duo of Gal Pollo and Gal Kami, who have so much gal aura they racked up the highest score of the day just by checking their phones. Cut to the green room as they prepare for the finals, and Mimimi is visibly shook from how easily and effortlessly Gal Pollo and Gal Kami racked up their points, to where she begins to doubt and hate on herself for basically being an imposter in the world of gals. Thankfully, Akko may not have much facial expressions of her own, but she's able to read others very well and asks what's bothering Mimimi, where she inquires about basically Akko's entire being, of being a gal and how she can become more gal-like to not be dead weight in the competition. Which Akko has a hard time trying to answer because that would be like asking me why I overthink stuff like the timeline of this godforsaken series. Things like this are just programmed into our DNA. And when Akko explains that she basically just tries to have fun and enjoy life in the moment being herself, it then dawns on Mimimi that Akko living the gal lifestyle is not any different from the beauty regiment lifestyle that Mimimi does for herself for the sake of beauty, because she takes pride and happiness from it just like Akko does in being a gal, which is just the morale boost they needed to go into the finals. It's time for the finals, and what better way to settle who is the most gal of the gals with none other than a children's trading card game. Wait, what? Battle City Gals is the theme of the finals, with Mimimi as the duelist and Akko as fan favorite, the Dark Magician Gal.
Say hello to Dark Magician
Gal.
Hello, mother...
Only for the ultimate gal duo to summon in response with the Blue Eyes Galtimate Dragon.
Huh?
As a retired Yu-Gi-Oh player, I call shenanigans on being able to summon that in a single turn. What is this, speed dueling? Mimimi now finds herself at quite a disadvantage with Akko at a measly 2,000 attack points against the Galtimate Dragon's mighty 4,500 attack points. Luckily, she does have 3 copies of Acts of Despair in her hand that will give the Akko Magician Gal a boost of 3,000 attack points, which would clear the 4,500 attack point hurdle against the Galtimate Dragon to win. But that's thinking like a duelist and not thinking like a gal. It's time to style on her opponents, as instead Mimimi uses Horn of the Unigal to accessorize Akko even further. Sometimes it's not about winning, it's about
Sending a message.
and the message was clearly heard from Galpoyo and Galkami being in awe of the glam in front of them. Though apparently they were the only ones who got the message, as Mimi and Akko still end up losing the competition by not getting enough gal points. Damn, it was a popularity contest the whole time, just like everything else. So of course the social media stars would win. Also, before we get further in, my past self won't let it slide, so I need to bring it up. Yes, a card they could use in order to summon something like Ultimate Dragon would be Fusion, as that is the translated name of the card. In Japanese, the spell card is simply known as Fusion, where it was localized into being Polymerization. Which is all fine and dandy to use the directly translated name, but the fact we have the localized names of Axe of Despair instead of Demon's Axe, and the localized name of Dark Magician Girl instead of Black Magician Girl, so we end up having this mixed bag of directly translated names and localized names, instead of being on fully one side or the other. But I don't blame Zoonscans for this. You see that tiny bubble? You want to try to squeeze the giant word of polymerization into that tiny speech bubble? Didn't think so. So I get why they went with the simple and short word of fusion instead. And only old school Yu-Gi-Oh nerds like me are gonna care about something like this. Oh, and one last Yu-Gi-Oh related note. I find it funny that Nakamura made the Axe of Despairs like small, throwable hand axes, instead of normal-sized big axes like it's depicted in the anime. With the competition now over, Mimi is solemn over the loss and wishes to apologize to Akko for bringing her chances down by faking being a gal, when in reality Akko is happy as can be that she had so much fun in the competition. As they head home, Galpoyo and Galkami catch up with them and thank them for a good time in the competition. Seems like all gals aren't really that highly competitive. And they want to take a selfie together to commemorate the occasion, which leaves Akko more hyper and excited than we have ever seen her in the series. What meeting your heroes does, I guess. And there we have it, the final chapter of 2025, and the final chapter of volume 27. And it was a nice, simple, fun time with Akko and Mimi, who probably have been in the background for a bit, so it was nice to get them out in the spotlight again. And like I said in the last video, we seem to be in a new pattern of the last chapter of a volume being a singular or two-girlfriend driven story, like with Uto and her hair and self-image dilemma, and Karane and Kishka and bearing the responsibilities of being an older sister. Now we have Mimi learning the ways of being a gal. Yeah, compared to the other two, this is definitely at the bottom. I'm not saying it's a bad chapter, far from it. But in terms of being a chapter about diving a bit deeper into the characters, the other two did a lot more for Uto and Karane and Kishka than anything for Mimi or Akko. Like, we already knew Mimi is a very kind-hearted person, the narcissist with a heart of gold as I called her not too long ago, always looking to find beauty in everything and everyone, and her drawing similarities between her lifestyle of trying to be the most beautiful, just as personally fulfilling as Akko trying to live life to the fullest gal style, and supporting Akko when she needs her is nothing revolutionary for the character. The biggest difference between this chapter and the previous two that I'm comparing it to is the vulnerability of the characters. Uto is usually a pretty composed character, or at least puts on the front of one, so seeing her so self-conscious with her hair was new, even if it was for a silly reason like a bad haircut, especially for being so anxious about a bad haircut when your boyfriend is someone like Rentaro. But she's also a middle school girl, so of course something like not looking good for your boyfriend is basically the end of the world. And with the Karane and Kishka storyline, it was dealing with the struggle of knowing you can do something to help, especially as an older sibling, but learning to let your younger siblings handle their own problems so they can learn to grow no matter how much it hurts. And while we do see Mimi struggle a little, having her doubt herself and feel like a fake of putting up a front of being a gal surrounded by actual gals, especially the embodiment of gals like Akko and Galpoyo and Galkami, and her feeling bad about ruining Akko's day that she had been looking forward to. Much like the Uto resolution of being silly thinking someone like Rentaro would be amiss regarding Uto's bad hair, it was silly for Mimi to think winning a gal competition was Akko's goal instead of just trying to have fun. Especially at the end when they ended up losing the competition, when just 2 scenes earlier Akko said her whole life philosophy is just to have fun and enjoy herself. Okay, enough negativity. Honestly, my negativity towards this chapter is solely based on the comparison I am making to the other volume-ending character-focused chapters, which is wrong. I should judge it for itself and nothing else. And by itself, in a vacuum, this is a fun chapter. These two are fun characters who have never directly interacted before in a chapter, both representing 2 different kinds of female lifestyles, and how they all get along wonderfully respecting one another's lifestyle. Now we just need a follow-up chapter where Akko dresses all blonde bombshell-like, and of course I loved all the Yu-Gi-Oh references. That's just the sprinkles on top, especially with it being used so absurdly as the finale event of a gal competition. Lastly, we actually do get a hint of the first girlfriend of 2026 of Girlfriend 36. Though unlike the past couple of hints we have gotten that pretty much gave away the character's quirk or identity, this one is probably the vaguest in a while, with just cool in quotation marks. This could be taken so many different ways, and knowing Nakamura, he's gonna pick the weirdest and most obscure definition of quote-unquote cool possible just to mess with us. And for realsies last actually, if Earl and I are able to get this video out on time, later this week into the new year on January 2nd, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the folks over at Chaos Square and I will be doing our State of the 100 Girlfriends stream, where we will be updating our tier list of the girlfriends and see how our opinions of them have changed given the last year's worth of chapters and character development. And if you can't make it to the stream because of the weird timing, it will be archived on both of our channels. But watch it on my channel. I might even have Earl do an edited version depending on how long it is. I made those two over at Chaos Squared promise me not to make it another 6-hour endeavor. And for the last time in 2025, I've been Moonlight150, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and use all of your gal energy to ring that notification bell. And I will see you all in 2026 for Girlfriend 36 and the tier list stream. Have a good one.